Yes, it's potluck time. It's a part of the show where we go around the table, share our favorite stories of the day. And if you are wearing a Walter Payton signed tie, you get to go first. Hirschfield.
I wish it was. I wish it was. I bring you two questions. What is crime, and where does it come from? And that's not simply a philosophical question. It's a very real challenge. New information out of New York City, where we come to you from, has seen an incredible spike in shootings this year alone. Not seen in many, many years. Baltimore's not getting any safer anytime soon, it doesn't seem. And Spike Lee's new movie coming out of Chicago is called Chirac. So that tells us exactly what's going on there. Gun violence is getting significantly worse. So Rand Paul gives a speech last week in Chicago on Friday, and he says the following: crime is not a racial thing, it's a spiritual thing. And people thought, oh my God, this guy is completely crazy. I actually think he's 100% right, about 50% of the reality. Crime isn't about any one thing. And people who study crime have been running around trying to find the magic bullet, no pun intended, that would help us solve crime forever. There is no one magic bullet. Is crime a racial thing? It surely has some racial overtones. Is crime an economic thing? That's demonstrably true. There's just a higher incidence of crime when you're poor and you're hurting because of it. Is crime a spiritual thing? Probably not in the way that Mr. Paul means, because he talks about needing salvation. That's really between him and whatever God he believes in. It's uniquely personal. But if he means when he says it's a spiritual thing, that the decision to commit a crime, whatever your circumstances, does come from someplace deep inside, and that every person can make a choice and should be accountable for the choices they make, yeah, that's a spiritual thing. It's not a religion thing. It's a personal responsibility thing. And I think he's absolutely right. It seems to me to really move forward on crime, whether it's here in New York, whether it's in Chicago, whether it's in Baltimore or anywhere else, we're going to need everybody at the table with all of these theories. Have the tough conversations about race. Have the honest conversations about economics and economic disparity. And don't be afraid of looking at people and saying, yeah, you make decisions with your life from wherever you are. Call it spiritual, call it personal responsibility, call it anything you want. But until that's a part of the equation, we're not going to solve crime anywhere for anyone.
The question is, can you get everybody to the table?
I think you can begin to if you could at least be willing to do the following. Whatever position you like least in this debate, figure out the partial truth in that argument. You could say it's largely false, but it can't be completely false, because all the purveyors of single responses to crime have proven wrong. So what I think Senator Paul did quite wisely is he reminded people, you can do all the theorizing you want about systems and systemic this and systemic that and economic the other thing. But there is a fundamental piece of people taking responsibility for the decisions they make in this world that's never going away. And if that's what spirituality is, I'm in favor of it, and he's right to have mentioned it.
It's interesting. You don't hear people talking about Rand Paul this week when it comes to that particular issue. The NSA thing completely overshadowed it.
He's been far too focused, I think, on the NSA thing, and probably should have focused a little
He
more
would
on
have done
that.
much better on this
Exactly.
issue than the NSA issue.
I agree.
So I heard you cook.
I do cook. Well, I don't actually cook, but I have cooked up a potluck for us tonight. We talk a lot on this table about religious freedom. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act was a huge topic for a long time about whether or not same-sex marriage, the people who have a religious objection to it should be able to refrain from making cakes or committing, doing cards, whatever it may be. Well, there's other religious issues that are coming up, especially with regards to our Supreme Court. Yesterday, I think the Supreme Court decided a case that a Muslim woman who had applied to work at Abercrombie & Fitch wanted to wear her headscarf. She was not given the job specifically because it did not go with Abercrombie & Fitch's look. The Supreme Court said that is not allowed, that you must make those types of accommodations for religion here in the United States. And the Supreme Court has consistently, when it comes to individuals, done this type of thing. Today I saw a case that I think is going to be very interesting where a 18-year-old who is graduating from a college in San Francisco, he's Native American, and he wants to wear a feather in his graduation cap.
High school or college?
He's graduating from high school.
Okay, I thought you said college.
There is a high school dress code that says that there's no decoration of the graduation caps. You cannot have any sort of drawings, anything like that, including rosaries, which apparently some people had wanted to put on there. And they're saying that since their rule is a bright line rule and doesn't accommodate any religions, that it's consistent with what the courts have said. However, in California, the Constitution there is a lot more permissive and says that you cannot discriminate against religion unless it is something that's going to be a safety issue or a disruption. The debate on this online has been huge. You know, some people think that he should be allowed to wear the eagle feather, that it's such an important part. Other people say, well, once you allow that, where does it end? And it's an interesting thing to me, you know, as we talk more and more about religious freedom, why give it to adults and not to high school kids who have strong religious beliefs?
Let's ask the California native what he thinks of this.
I think it's silly. He should be able to do it if he wants to. It's easy to answer the question, where does it end? I couldn't come up with a religious reason to put something on my graduation cap. So it ends there, you know?
But there's an argument. I mean, some religions believe in nudism. You know, do you let the kid go nude?
Really? What religion
No, because
does?
that's disruption, and that's what we're afraid to deal
Well,
with.
I don't know
We
a
gotta
religion
go.
that actually
Gotta go.
does.
Yay or nay is next. This is the Daily
I'll
Wrap.
during the commercial.